Hi guys, James at Rampant Lion Reviews again for you today. For this one, we are going to do another out and about video for you. So as you can see behind me, I am in Kyoto today, specifically in Minami-ku, and we're going to have a little look at this place behind me, Kyoto Brewing Company. And there will be a special guest in this video, so definitely looking forward to this. We'll do as we always do, we'll have a little walk around, I'll show you how it looks inside, we'll taste some of the beers. And yeah, we'll have a good time. So let's get started on this one. I'll catch you guys in just a second. Slange, skål, cheers, kampai. So yeah guys, just to let you see exactly where we are, Kyoto Brewing are based in this little building here. They've got a nice food truck outside as well. You can stand outside and have a couple of beers. But yeah, it's pretty much in the middle of a kind of residential area. You can see the weather is absolutely stunning today. It was pouring earlier, it's actually not bad now, but we're in April, so you've got a little bit of cherry blossom, sakura here. Outside they've got some lovely looking food here, so we need to see some beef and pork and things. Might need to try some of this a little bit later on after we've had a beer or two, but yeah, I have to say it does look very, very nice. So yeah, as is typical in Japan, you always leave your umbrella outside, particularly when it's raining. But yeah, you've got a little area here that you can stand under the tarpaulin and have a little look at. But yeah, let's go in and just have a little look. So when you come in, you can see the bar here. They've got usually 10 taps, but they've got 8 on today. But yeah, we'll have a little look at those later on. But you can see the brewery through here, which is very, very nice. Getting a bit of reflection there, but we'll sort that later. But yeah, we'll come and have a look at the tap list a wee bit later. Let's just head up and we'll see who the special guest is going to be. Is this one. So yeah, come upstairs, you've got the little tasting room here. You can also look over into the brewery here. And you can see them working away. Maybe about 2,000-3,000 litre tanks down there, which is quite nice. But then yeah, we have our special guest over here. This is Mr. Nevitt Reagan of Japanese Craft Beer Reviews. So, do some tastings today.
Oishibiru.
Oishibiru desu ne. Sugoi. Alright guys, well, time for tasting number 1 here then at Kyoto Brewing Company. So the first beer that we're going to have a little look at is called Ichigo Ichie, which Nevitt informs me is a Japanese phrase that kind of means like seize the moment. But the beer itself is one of Kyoto Brewing's flagship ones, 5.5% ABV Saison. So yeah, the malt bill in this one, quite simple, Pilsner malt, wheat malt. The hops in this one, Cascade and Motueka. So Cascade, of course, the old school American hop, 8% alpha acid, a little bit of grapefruit normally. Motueka from New Zealand, about 8%. 8% and gives you a little bit of a kind of oily, limey sort of thing. So yeah, this should be quite nice. As you would expect from a Saison, lovely kind of pale golden yellow colour. When this one poured, at about half finger of frothy white head. That has just kind of faded away now. But yeah, as you see in Japan, you get very small pores. It's not like back in Scandinavia or the motherland of Scotland. But yeah, it looks pretty nice, I have to say. You've got a nice little bit of natural haze to it. Not too much in the way of visible carbonation. But yeah, lovely glass, I have to say as well. You can see that too, which is nice. So yeah, we've got a lovely Quebecois couple sitting across from us. Their babies here, 9 months old. They start them younger in Quebecois than we do in Scotland, of course. But yeah, so yeah, so you can see this one looks pretty much as you would expect from a Saison. Let's have a wee look at the nose and see what we have. Oh yeah, it's nice. So Saison, of course, is a style that's becoming more and more popular in Europe at the moment. You know, beer scene always goes in phases. It's IPAs for a long time, then it was lagers, now it's kind of Saisons and farmhousey beers. But yeah, aroma-wise, this is lovely. For me, you've got a lovely little bit of fresh bread, fresh bread crust in this one. On top of that, some fluffy white bread. You get that nice woody, crackery thing that you often get from Saisons. Of course, this beer style is a little bit more yeast-centred. And that's the kind of typical thing with Belgian beer. You know, Belgian beer styles are always a little bit more yeast-centred. So yeah, a lovely little bit of kind of white bread in there, a little bit of kind of brown bread, woody, crackery notes. You get a bit of dryness from the Pilsner malt and a wee bit of biscuit as well. But yeah, lovely the aroma coming out of this one, I have to say. So, hoppy side of things, green component in this one is quite nice. There was a hop in this one as well called Merkur, which I have not heard of, so I will need to look that up a little bit later on. It's kind of unusual that I come across a hop I don't know, but there we go. So Merkur hops in this one. But yeah, lovely little bit of earthiness, quite a bright floral aromatic note, also some lovely zesty grassy character. But you're getting some grapefruit definitely from the Cascade in this one, but a lot of lime from the Motueka. I love Motueka. Equinox from the US was always a favourite hop of mine as well. These are the two that give you the lovely kind of limey notes. But aroma-wise, it gives you pretty much everything you would expect of a Saison. Let's have a little look at the aroma, or let's have a look at the flavour, sorry, and see what this one is all about. So, Slantu, Skål, cheers, Kampai. That's really nice. Very clean Saison actually, this one, and this is one of the things I've talked about with Japanese beer before. I often find it's very light, it's very clean. They have this mentality with beer in Japan that it should be drinkable and easygoing, and this one certainly gives you that. I always find the Japanese beers are just a bit cleaner and lighter than their European or American counterparts. But yeah, this is a solid beer. It's quite a nice, just easy drinking one, which is what you want from a Saison. So, middle of your palate with this one, a little bit of bread crust in the base, a wee bit of woodiness toward the front of the middle third of the palate, some kind of Jacob's cream cracker sort of notes as well. Then you get a little bit of a kind of wholemeal brown bread, white bread above that too. And yeah, you can feel toward the back of that middle third of your palate, you start to get some of the dryness from the Pilsner malt, and then above all the bready layers, there's a wee touch of sweetness. Dead centre of your palate, it's almost like a straight up caramel, but as you move further out, you get more of the kind of biscuity notes out of it, or cookies, if you would say in American English. I need to try and remember and use both words. I've been picked up on that before, but yeah. So yeah. Back third of your palate is quite similar, but you get more of a kind of yeasty character out of it. So on the back third of your palate, you can feel the more woody, farmhousey, bready notes coming out of this beer. It's almost got a little bit more of a grainy kind of side to it on the back third of the palate too. On the hoppy side of things then, back corners of the palate, you've got a lovely little bit of the earthiness there, which you do want from a Saison. You want a little bit of that earthy herbal sort of thing to bring out the yeast a little bit more. But as you come further forward, it's a little bit more floral and aromatic. Round the front curve of the tongue, a wee bit lighter and more kind of grassy, I would say. There's a wee bit of zestiness out of this one too, but overall, the green component for me is a bit more floral leaning and kind of wet and grassy, I would say. But yeah, fruity side of things, front third of your palate, so a little bit of bread in the base there again, on top of that. Yeah, on top of that, it's kind of what you'd expect. I think it leans more toward the Motueka, this one, rather than the Cascade, but you do actually get a little bit of that oily, peary kind of note that Cascade can sometimes give you, a little bit like a sultana, you know, dried white green grapes. There's a little bit of that in there, some oily pear at the back, and then as you move forward into the front half of that front third of your palate, it's more oily and kind of limey. But yeah, it certainly goes together really nicely in that regard. I think that's everything we really need to say about the flavour of this one, to be honest. Mouthfeel-wise, it's kind of bottom end of mid-bodied for me. The carbonation's very smooth, quite wet, slightly oily at the same time as well. IBU, I think it did say on the website, I can't remember, but I think this one's about a 15-20 IBU beer. Quite smooth in its green component, to be honest with you. Malt base, smooth, a little touch of sweetness, and then you've got that lovely oily fruity character to this one. So yeah, that was the Ichigo Ichiya, a 5.5% Saison, one of the flagship beers at Kyoto Brewing Company. That's your end of your first tasting. The next one you will see Nevitt, I'm pretty sure. So catch you guys in just a second. Skål, cheers, Kampai. Alright guys, so a little quick look at the tap list here at Kyoto Brewing Company. So yeah, you can see quite a few different kinds of IPA. Yeah, you can see over there on tap 1 the Ichigo Ichiya, which we just reviewed a minute ago. That is one of their flagship beers. They've also got the Belgian Stout in there as well, which you'll definitely see later in the video because it's very rare to find those on tap. Then you've got a bunch of Pale Ales and IPAs. So you have the Fresh Start Pale Ale, Supernova American IPA, which you'll see reviewed in just a little second. They've also got another American IPA there, which is the Magnificent 7. Then number 6, the Pioneer American IPA, the Kyoto Belgian IPA, which sounds quite interesting. This is quite a yeast-focused brewery, from what I've seen so far. And then they've got a Belgian Imperial Red, which we will have to try. I love red beers, so that is an absolute must. But that's a little look at the tap list for you here at Kyoto Brewing on the 7th of April 2023, if I'm not mixing my dates up.
Hello there, and welcome to
James, Rampant Lion Reviews, and
Nevitt at Japanese Beer Reviews. Let's talk about a craft beer today from Kyoto Brewing Company, and I'm here with James. He's visiting, and we are in the upstairs section of Kyoto Brewing Company, and we're going to look at a beer from that brewery. It is called Supernova. But first, a little bit about Kyoto Brewing. I've been here many times, and it's the first time for James. They started in 2015, and they've been going since then, and quite successfully. They were in 2019. They were voted the best brewery in Japan by RateBeer.com, and they've made approximately 280 different batches, and they have a variety of different series of beers in which they explore different aspects of lagers or IPAs. For example, what was an IPA like when it was first originated in England, and what is an IPA like when it was developed in the west coast of California in the 70s. And so a variety of interesting beers from Kyoto Brewing. And let's take a look at this beer now. It's called Supernova. This is an American IPA, 6% and 50
55 IBUs.
53 international bittering units, and we notice there's mosaic in it. And shall we give this one a go?
Yeah, we'll have a wee look at the colour first then. So you can see here, guys, it's got this lovely kind of bright yellow, pale golden note to it. Yeah, but it had a bit of finger of cream coloured head, I would say.
At first, yeah.
Faded away now to be quite just a thin foamy layer, a little bit of a ring around the glass. But I think this one was listed as an American IPA, so not West Coast, not New England, somewhere in between.
Right.
So yeah.
We're not sure if it's West Coast or wet, but
we can tell from if it's 50 IBUs, it's all somewhere in between. You know, New England's are like 30, West Coasters are about 80 normally. So yeah.
And we did notice it has mosaic in it, and
you get that tangerine note from the mosaic
immediately. Yeah, it's right there.
So yeah, I mean, for me, this beer, it's quite. You get a little bit of the bread crust underneath, a little bit of white bread, but then more like biscuity, kind of caramelly notes coming out.
But certainly the hops are carrying the aroma, definitely.
Yeah, I mean, the green component for me is quite big and floral. I always find you get a bit of earthiness from mosaic as well.
It tastes to me also like something like mild tropical note here, which I don't tend to associate with West Coast IPAs so much.
It's a wee bit pineapple-y, I think. Like there's a wee bit of pineapple and like an oily apricot maybe.
So some like tropical fruit along with some stone fruit.
Yeah,
okay.
I'd say mainly oily, like tangerine orange, and a wee bit of an I get a little bit of lime out of it.
Citrus there?
Yeah, I get a wee bit of like a limey, citrusy note, to be honest. Yeah, quite wet, quite refreshing smelling.
Okay.
Floral in the green component for me mostly. A little bit of bread, a little bit of sweetness. I'd say for an American IPA, it leans a bit more West Coast than it does in West Coast. Yeah. American IPA is in between.
Yeah,
but yeah, I think,
and certainly the appearance is definitely definitely not
hazy.
No,
not so hazy.
No, very clear.
But yeah, I think
okay.
So. Cool to do a collaboration tasting for sure. But Slanja, Skull,
Kampai.
Yeah. That's nice. Quite first impression of this one for me is it's like quite a wet. It's got that typical, as I've said in the first tasting, that quite it's quite wet and quite drinkable. You always get this with Japanese lighter beers, though I would say, but it's It's really more of a kind of wet and grassy, sweet IPA for me, I would say that. I think it leans more toward that side of things.
Yeah, I do get this kind of like herbal grassiness in the flavor for sure,
And
which is not in the aroma.
Yeah, I mean, it definitely leans toward a West Coast.
Yeah,
And
absolutely.
I would always say for me, there's kind of two kinds of West Coast. You know, the more oily, caramelly ones and the lighter, more bready, biscuity kind. And this it's more toward the bready side of the spectrum for a West Coaster as well. But it's still very nice beer, actually. It's really easy to drink. Gives you what you want, yeah.
Absolutely, yeah. And I think the alcohol and the hop level are just right where they should be.
Yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah. I mean, for me, middle of the palate, a little bit of bread crust in the base, a wee bit of brown bread, a little bit of white bread.
Some light sweetness in the aftertaste too, as well. It does have the bitterness, but it's not like a shocking, deep bitter track, but light. And then it has a kind of sweet edge in the finish as well.
Yeah, I think above the bread you get a little bit of like biscuit caramel, and that comes out more into the aftertaste as well. It's got a wee bit of yeastiness on the back third of the palate too, like a lighter kind of more farmhousey type white bread. Maybe a teeny bit.
Interesting point, because Kyoto Brewing is known for their farmhouse sort of styles, which they started with, kind of a Belgian-influenced American hybrid style.
I think the first beer I ever saw from them, like in Koji's, was like a Belgian pale ale or something.
Yeah.
Pretty sure. But yeah,
even the pale ale I had earlier had some kind of an edge like that too as well.
Okay.
I don't know. Could it be some residual thing floating around the brewery from?
Could well be. I mean, the thing is, when breweries take in their own yeasts, the yeast will evolve over time from culture to culture. So
Sure.
yeah, it evolves in different ways. But I mean, I think we've said what we need to about the malty, yeasty side of the beer. Green component. What do you reckon?
Okay, the aroma seemed to me tropical, a little light tropical, and I'm not getting as much of that. It seems more light weedy. You mentioned floral in the aroma, and I'm getting a bit of that too in the flavor.
Yeah. I get like in the back of the palate, right at the corners, I get a wee bit of earthiness. I always find I get that from Mosaic, and most hops I find you get a little bit of earthiness. But this one, for me, the green component's quite wet. Like the floral side of things is wetter, so I see where you get the kind of weedy, cannabisy sort of thing out of it.
It's light, but it's certainly there.
Yeah, but round the front curve of the palate for me, it's grassy, and it's got quite a bit of a wet, fresh cut, zesty, grassy note to it. And that's often you find that with Mosaic as well. I think this is a single. They said this was T90 pellets and cryo. And I think it's the cryo oil that gives you the wetness in the mouthfeel. Because the T90 pellets are just they tend to give you a bit more dryness, I find.
Cryo is a concentrated form of hops.
They basically extract the
Extract
oil
the hop
essentially.
oils,
Yeah, exactly. Because when you have a hot flower, you have the brist, and then you have the good stuff, which gives you what you want. The brist is useless. Yeah. So yeah.
This is very pleasant and very well done. Interesting name, Supernova. I'm not sure where it came from. They usually have an explanation that I couldn't find on their website here. Supernova.
I think I had a Supernova beer from Uchu at one stage.
Is that right?
Yeah. Fruity side of the beer then, front third of the palate. It's quite. To me, it's got a wee bit of like an oily peary sultana note to it, maybe a wee bit of dried apricot, and then oily on the front tip of the tongue. It's like an oily tangerine. Oily tangerine.
Like a sultana, apricot, and I'm getting this kind of residual sweetness after the hops drift away. Light sweetness is still there for me.
Yeah, I think the things that really linger into this beer are the sort of wet grassiness, the orangey tangerine, and also a bit of the caramelly biscuit for me. I think that's what lingers with it. But you expect that of like a West Coast or a more West Coast leading American IPA, as this one is. Round off with mouthfeel then.
Very pleasant.
So, let's see, mouthfeel wise, it's mid-bodied, it's right in the middle of the spectrum. It's not too thick, it's not too thin. It gives you what you want. We know the IBUs are 50. I have to admit, I would never have guessed that with this one. I probably would have thought this was 30.
Yeah, it's not as it's not attacking the tongue as much as you think 50 would.
But this is the thing, your palate's always changing, so I find, like, I drink some beers, I'm like, oh, that's only 30 IBUs, but it turns out it was 60.
It could have been what the beer you had just before that.
Maybe, yeah.
Or yeah,
it can change, yeah.
Your palate can change too over time. That's right.
Yeah. So yeah, for me, mid-bodied, a little bit oily in its mouthfeel. The malty base is quite smooth and quite sweet, then you've got this lovely oily, sweet, fruity character to it. I think you made a good choice with this one. I think this has got a nice second step. So
I'm quite pleased with this. I think that fulfills its requirements and more, definitely.
Yeah, cool. Nice stuff.
Once again, this is called Supernova from Kyoto Brewing, a fairly new one for them, and it's 6% and 53 international bittering units, primarily with some mosaic and
T90 pellets and the cryo oil in this one. So interesting stuff. I think that's a good place to round off for tasting.
I think so. Thank you very much for watching Rampant Lion Reviews
and for watching Japanese craft beer reviews with Nevitt.
Thank you.
Catch you guys in a second.
Bye-bye.
Tasting number 3 coming up. Alright guys, well, time for tasting number 3. Now, this beer that we're going to have a look at for this one is called Kyoto. It was 6.5% ABV. 6% ABV. This is a Belgian IPA with Citra, Amarillo and Simcoe, so a classic American hop combination. You've reviewed this one before?
I did quite a while ago,
yeah. So what did you think of it originally?
I enjoyed this very much.
Yeah. And this is quite a good one because my impression of Kyoto Brewing is that they're more yeast-centric. They're quite yeasty.
And also they kind of made their name at the beginning when they started in 2015, making Belgian-American kind of hybrids. So this is a Belgian IPA.
Yeah, so that'd be quite nice. I think it should be quite interesting, this one. So, as you can see, it's got a lovely, slightly amber tint to it. It has a really nice... I'd say it looks quite like a West Coast IPA more than anything, to be honest with you. So,
I suppose, it's a little darker than the IPA we had earlier, for sure.
Yeah, definitely. So, I mean, remember guys, the colour of your beer depends mainly on the type of malts that you use and the length of your wort boil, but yeah, this is obviously going to have a little bit more sweetness to it, and the yeast will affect the colour as well. But yeah, lovely little bit of natural haze to it. When it poured, it was about a half finger, kind of cream ivory coloured head. Now it's just faded away to be a sort of thinner, foamy layer. We'll take a look at the aroma then.
Okay, let's do that.
Oh yeah, there's quite a lot of earthy and cranberry notes in that, isn't there?
This one comes up into your nose for sure.
Oh, definitely, yeah. So for me, a lot of earthy and herbal notes at the beginning.
We have Citra, Simcoe, and Amarillo.
It's got a kind of papery note. Does that not smell like fresh, wet paper to you? That's really interesting. It's unusual, actually.
A little bit of spiky citrus with something almost minty, maybe.
Yeah. I mean, for me, the citrus, the more you smell of this one, the more you get the green mint. I see what you mean, exactly what you mean with the minty note. But for me,
sure.
Yeah, I mean, for me, backbone of the beer, it's got this woody, herbal, earthy sort of thing to it, a bit of cracker as well, some brown bread and white bread coming out later. I think we're going to get more of the yeasty character and the flavour than we are in the aroma, to be honest, because you get more of the hoppy, citrusy side comes out.
Yeah, that comes out here, definitely.
Yeah.
A little bit spritzy.
Yeah, I mean, for me, like Nevitt was saying, mint, I can absolutely see why you get the mint.
Either mint or citrus zest or something that kind of tickles.
Clears the tubes, you know. Yeah. A little bit of, I think there's a wee bit of earthy hoppy note for me, a little bit herbal, quite a bit of grassiness the more you smell of it as well.
Mm-hmm. It's quite a complex nose, actually.
Yeah. Definitely, I get a bit of a more oily, pungent passion fruit out of this, and I think that's most likely to be the Citra. The Simcoe well, Citra and Simcoe are both going to give you a bit of passion fruit. Citra's going to give you more mango, I would say.
Yeah, I think this is highly citrus based rather than pine.
Yeah, I get quite a bit of orange from the Amarillo. Amarillo always gives you that more zesty, oily orange. Citra, Simcoe, Amarillo is like one of the really old school American combinations, definitely. So it's quite familiar, but in this context with the more yeasty beer, it's quite unusual, I have to say. But yeah.
So how about Belgian note in this?
That'd be the yeasty note, but this one for me is quite earthy. And Belgian yeast is usually a bit brighter and more quite ready for me. This one's quite an earthy herbal.
Yeah, so I'm saying the hops may be taking precedence here over the Belgian note.
Yeah, definitely. But I get a lot of cracker and like wet paper. I think we've said everything we need to, but no, is anything else?
Okay, no, I'm fine.
Yeah, let's
move on.
Let's have a look at this one then. Slange it.
Now I get something quite different from the aroma.
Yeah, you definitely get. This beer is really kind of woody, earthy, herbal, and you get more and more of that into the aftertaste. Yeah, particularly on the back of the palate.
It's a little dark towards the end.
Yeah.
I wouldn't say chocolate, but something darker than the original aroma leads you to believe.
Yeah. Yeah, for me it's quite like that. Like the base of the beer is bread crusty. There's some cracker in there. Quite further forward on the palate, it's a bit more woody. Like I get a lot of wood, bit of cracker, bread crust further back. And in that back half of the palate, it's more earthy, woody, herbal type thing. So yeah. So yeah.
Yeah, the flavor is quite different from the aroma. Not quite what I was expecting.
Yeah, I mean,
but
you get a bit more sweetness out of this the further into the aftertaste you go. This one is like, I get a bit of caramel in the dead centre of the palate, and a wee bit of biscuit further out, but then it's mainly like a brown bread underneath that, and then you get all the bread crustiness.
Brown bread.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So there's something a little bit darker and deeper than the bright citrusy hops that we had at the beginning in the aroma. Definitely.
This is definitely, I think we made a good choice because we were going to get a Vienna lager this time, but apparently the cans that they have, you're not allowed to drink those inside, unfortunately, because we were going to go for a Vienna lager, because you don't see that very often. But I think we made a good choice with this. It's a beer that makes you think a little bit. You know?
Yeah. Again, this is the kind of beer that they kind of built their reputation on. But for me, the Belgian aspect is certainly overshadowed by the hops.
This one for me, it gets sweeter and smoother the more that you drink of it too. And on the hoppy side of things, for me, a wee bit of earthiness for sure, which builds a good bridge with the yeasty character. Quite herbal, a little bit floral at the front corners of the tongue, but front curve of the palate, wet, grassy and zesty, and I think that note for me dominates, the zesty grassiness.
Okay.
But quite wet as well, as I say. What about the fruits? What do you get for the fruity side of things?
Yeah, I just detected something like cinnamon. Something quite spicy and lightly sweet at the back end.
I can see why you get that actually, like the cinnamony note. It's interesting, like probably between middle and front third of your palate there is a little bit of that cinnamony note, yeah. But
yeah, the fruit is for me is kind of stone fruit. I'm going to say maybe light pear, light peach. Perhaps.
Pear definitely for me, sultana as well. I get quite a bit of the very front of the tongue, quite oily and orangey from the Amarillo. And I get a wee bit of like a light passion fruit and apricot as well at the back of that front third of your tongue too. But yeah, the further into the aftertaste, again, this one shows you a bit more sweetness and a bit more orangey character.
Yeah, it really does change. It's got a set of complex flavor changes from initial to end.
That's nice. Yeah. Our Quebecois friends are leaving. See you guys. Cheers.
Drink good beer.
Yeah. But yeah, no, for me, quite orangey. Yeah. I think we can round off with the mouthfeel. Yeah. Again, it's quite a wet but still oily beer for me. Yeah. Like, I think you can definitely see a pattern in the Kyoto beers.
I think the more you drink of them, I think you will. They do experiment a lot, and but again, this is kind of their I wouldn't say their flagship style, but the style that they started with, and they kind of developed it over the years, and it's still one of their best, best kinds of beers that they put out.
Yeah, I mean, for me, this is definitely this beer's got a bit more dryness to it than the other ones, for sure, because of the yeasty notes. So this is quite dry, but still quite smooth. The malt base, as we say, for me, you've still got that wet, slightly oily vibe to it. Lovely smoothness, a little bit of sweetness in there. The fruity note for me is definitely oily. And then, yeah, in terms of IBUs, this is, what, 20?
No, it's 53.
53?
53.
See, I would have guessed this was about 25 there.
54.
Because, I mean, this is one of the things I often find is if you've got a drier beer like this, that can kind of skew your take on the bitterness a little bit.
Right, and you said that with the last beer that you expected, actually, it tasted like it had a lower level of IBUs. And same thing with this one, perhaps. Yeah.
Yeah, no, exactly. This
54 IBUs, it should kind of put a little dent in your mouth, as you drink it. But
again, I would never guess that with this.
No, not at all.
Never. No. Yeah. But yeah, another very nice beer. This one that's made me think a little bit. And after a good few thousand beer reviews, you want things that are going to make you think a wee bit.
Yeah.
So
right.
Yeah, how does it compare to the first time you tried it?
First time you try, I have to say I don't really recall. I remember, I can go back and look at my review from before, but I had it from a can at that time, which I bought in the store and reviewed at home. But it seems to be an interesting drinking experience for sure.
Definitely, yeah. I think that's a nice place to round off on this one then. So yeah, guys, that's the end of tasting number 3. We're going to start moving to the more malty and dark stuff.
That's right.
For this, so we're going to have 5 tastings in this video. So we'll catch you guys in a second with something else.
All right.
And thanks to Nevitt once again for joining for this one. Cheers. So yeah, guys, just a little quick look at the merchandise here at Kyoto Brewing. So yeah, they've got quite a few nice little things. You've got this little kind of rubber coaster here. You can get a little set of cans if you want to. The little box is 100 yen. What's this? This is the beanie hats. These are quite cool actually, I have to say. Good quality, quite a good price actually for those. This little bottle opener down here looks pretty nice. You've also got this little tengui thing, like a kind of bottle cover. You can get some different glasses and things too. So 1,500 for the sort of tulip glass, and also 1,000 for the little taster glass here as well. You can also get your growler for 1,000 yen, and you've got some t-shirts and things here too, which look nice. So yeah, lovely little bag. This one here. Same kind of t-shirt, just different colours and stuff. This one, I have to say, is pretty cool. And yeah, the local brew, Kyoto Brewing. You've also got this nice hoodie here as well, which looks good. But yeah, nice little set of merchandise here at Kyoto Brewing. Alright guys, well, time for tasting number 4 then here at Kyoto Brewing. Nevitt is going to join us for this one as well. He's going hardcore today. There we go. So, the beer that we're doing for number 4 is a style that you really don't come across all that often. So this beer is called Kuroshio no Gotoku. It comes in at, 6%? I've lost the ABV now. Kyoto Brewing have a nice little section on their website where they tell you about each of the different beers. So this one was at 6% ABV, Belgian style stout. The malt base in this one, Maris Otter, Munich, malted oats, carapils, crystal medium, crystal DRC, chocolate and black malt. So mainly a German malt base in here, other than Marisotto, which is English, and the hop profile on this one is Merkur and Styrian Goldings. So yeah, Merkur is an interesting German hop, 16% alpha acid roughly, bit of a beast. So it's
developed from the Magnum.
Magnum, yeah, exactly. So this should be quite interesting. This is quite a popular. You were saying they use this hop quite often.
Yeah, I've noticed it in some of their beers. Yeah, certainly.
Exactly. And
you were not quite familiar.
I've never. Oddly enough, I live in Sweden, but I've not seen this hop used very much there. The other thing Nevitt was mentioning was that the name about this one, the
Kuroshio.
Kuroshio. Do you want to explain that?
It's the black current, which goes through the Pacific and up to Alaska and around, and it's apparently very rich in fishing, and it's apparently one of the strongest currents in the world, in the ocean currents, long ocean currents.
Yeah.
So
I think we've said everything we need to about the
name.
I guess. Yeah. So we'll set this down.
35 international bitter units as well.
There we go. It smells lovely, I have to say.
It does.
And appearance-wise, exactly as you'd expect from a stout. Lovely kind of light beigey coloured head, dark kind of ebony rosewood colour. Not too much visible carbonation, but it looks very, very nice.
It does. It does.
But it smells very nice too. What's your first impression of the aroma?
Certainly get the mild dark roast. Coffee, of course. Chocolate.
Yeah, it's got like a that cocoa nibby dryness. It's got like a really well-fired bread crusty quality as well.
This is a Belgian stout.
Because you can smell that yeasty. You get a little bit of that almost Hefeweizen and the yeasty character.
There you go. That's interesting. Yeah, Belgian ale, yeast.
But yeah, roasty, well-fired bread crust, it's almost got a little bit of a rye bready character to it. Toasty brown sugar, cocoa nibs. It's got a little bit of a woody, leathery kind of thing going on as well.
Yeah. There's a lot happening in this nose. And this is actually one of their 4 flagship beers. So they make this year-round. It's always available.
And one thing it was saying in the little part on the website is that they were one of their motivations was that black beer isn't that popular in Japan.
Yeah, it hasn't been. Lager beer, as in most of the world, pale lagers are the premier style in Japan.
You don't even see Guinness or Murphy's around that much.
If you go to an Irish bar, you will, but otherwise, no.
Yeah. And that's another thing that's unusual about Japan, I guess. But yeah, I get a bit of an oilier, treacly molasses thing in the middle of the nose.
Yeah, it leads you to believe that something is going to be sweet in the flavor.
Yeah, there's a little bit of hoppy character to this one, wee bit herbal, wee bit earthy.
The Belgian note is not pronounced.
Yeah, I mean, at the top of the nose, I think there's a little bit of that, yeasty, Hefeweizen-y, bubblegummy type thing. Clove is probably a good thing. Yeah.
Okay, well, I guess that's your Hefeweizen clove.
Yeah, the hoppy side of the beer is a bit mild, a little bit earthy, a little bit herbal, grassy again. And I think that's probably, by the sounds of it, I would say that's maybe the Merkur. The Merkur's giving you that almost German noble hop quality.
Yeah, Merkur is a German hop.
Yeah. What would you say about the fruits? Maybe a little black curranty?
I guess. I behind the coffee and the chocolate, I don't detect a lot of fruit. Maybe some light dark fruit.
Black currant or fig or something, But it's a lovely note.
It's a wonderful nose.
Yeah, lovely nose on this beer, I have to say that. I think it has a sort of Irish dry stout type quality, but the more Belgian yeasty side is what makes it Belgian stout for me. But I think it's about.
Yeah. From the Irish thing, I would expect a little bit more ashy, kind of charcoaly nose, but this does not have that. It has the sweetness.
Yeah.
Should we?
I think that's time to dive in. Yeah. So,
cheers.
Slange, Skull, Kampai.
Kampai.
There we go. Oh, that's nice. It really is somewhere, it really has a little bit of Irish dry stout quality for me. Like, see the aftertaste? The real dryness you get?
It is quite dry. Yeah, you're right.
Well, that's kind of a recurring theme with these Kyoto beers, actually. They do have that little bit of
dryness.
Dry and bitter quality.
Interesting observation, yeah. So we've had two of the flagship beers tonight so far, and another pale ale and an IPA that in all cases he detected kind of dry quality, kind of crisp dryness to it. And here we have it similarly in this stout.
It's quite cool to see it just on the dark end of the spectrum as well, though.
Yeah.
But this, I will say, this is, out of the beers we've tried so far, this is potentially my favourite one.
Is that right?
I think so, yeah. But we'll see what the red ale next is going to do for us.
Okay.
But this is, I have to say, this is very, very nice. It's got that lovely mix of, it's quite Irish and dry in the beginning, but then it gives you the more Belgian yeasty character into the aftertaste. It's really good.
Yeah, it kind of settles on the tongue in the back end, and you get definitely, it's not sediment, but certainly something hanging on in the end, definitely in the body.
Yeah. I think for me, if you go to the middle and the back of the palate, roasty, well-fired bread crust in the base, a bit woody toward the kind of front of that middle third of your palate, like a rye bread type quality in there.
So you're getting darker and darker as you move back.
Yeah, it gets a bit darker and more roasty. For me, the sort of chocolatey character in this one, I don't get so much of that in the flavour.
No, and even in the nose too, it's muted.
Yeah,
The chocolate aspect.
Yeah, it really is more like a well-fired bread crusty type quality. But the way everything goes together in this one, I think, is really nice.
So as we noted, the malt bill is quite varied, but the first one mentioned, the first ingredient mentioned is Maris Otter, which is not a dark malt.
Yeah. I mean, funnily enough, I was just going to say, above the kind of brown, the rye bready character, you do get a little bit of a toasty, but still slightly sweet brown sugar, and I would suspect that is the Maris Otter. So in the dead centre palate for me, there's quite like a highly treacalized, caramelized, whatever you want to say, brown sugar. But as you go further out towards the extremities of the palate, it's a bit more biscuity, let's say.
It's interesting. The malt, in the order they list them, go from light to darker. In terms, and I assume this is in terms of the malt bill percentage from top to bottom.
Because the crystal malts that are in there are they're German as well, and that makes sense. German malt for me is always very smooth and very bready, and it definitely has a bit of German quality to it, this beer as well. Because you'll notice that if you try a West Coast IPA or something like that that's German brewed, it's always more bready, and that's just the nature of their malts in my experience. But yeah, for me this is quite rye bready. It's roasty, toasty, well-fired bread plus treacle, caramel, brown sugars in there. The cocoa nibby note comes out further back, and on the back third of the palate you get a little bit of that kind of clovey, like Belgian wit, Hefeweizen type note. For me, that's what makes it the Belgian stout.
I cannot top that for a description of this beer.
So this is nice. I think this is, for me, this is the pick of the bunch so far.
So far, yeah. This is quite exceptional, and for a flagship beer, even for a beer they make year round. It's not one of their bright experiments or super powered anything. It's just a year round beer, and it's exceptional.
I do think I might need to get a can of this one to do a review on like a fresh palate, because we've had a few beers now, so it'd be quite cool to try this one with a naked palate, definitely, and see how it differs. But
let's do that.
For me, like the kind of the hoppy side of things is what you expect to. A little bit earthy, a little bit herbal, wee touch floral, bit of grassiness. Typical German noble type thing. What were the other two hops in this one again?
There were just two, Mercure and Styrian Goldings.
Oh, that's Slovenian, so that makes sense, because Slovenian hops are quite similar, but even smoother than German, in my experience. So yeah, absolutely makes sense, that thing. But again, that wet grassiness is quite prevalent.
So you're detecting certain characteristics in several of the beers we've had tonight.
Yeah, like there's, I think,
certain dryness, you said,
and like a wet, grassy type character as well. Like on the front of the palate, really like a lot of wet grassiness and a wee touch of floral note there too. Yeah. What do you reckon about the fruit in the beer? Because it wasn't too, for you, it wasn't kind of too obvious in the aroma. You said.
No. Some dark fruit, certainly. You mentioned sultanas in this?
Oh yeah, I get a wee bit. Well, I didn't mention that this time, but I get a wee bit of that for sure. Yeah, it has got that peri sultana note to it, but like a little.
The darker aspect though is overshadowing any fruit sweetness, I think.
And I think for me there's definitely blackcurrant and a little bit of fig in there. There's something more. It's more currant than berry, because berries are always sharper, but it's got that more oily, curranty type smoothness to it.
Okay.
Yeah.
I eat figs for breakfast almost every morning, and I don't think I could drink this every morning, but
put a bit of coffee in it. It's a breakfast stout. A few coffee beans in this, and you make it a breakfast stout.
There you go.
Yeah. There's a few good craft roasteries here in Japan, from what I understand. I don't drink coffee.
There are. You don't drink coffee?
No, I just don't. Never. I love coffee stouts, but I never drink coffee.
I can't live without it.
So maybe that's a way that Kyoto can experiment with this. Get some Kyoto craft coffee in here.
They have done a few times, some local roasteries.
It's interesting. I love a coffee imperial stout, but this is lovely.
So you do drink coffee?
Technically, I guess, yeah. Yeah.
When it's in beer.
When it's in beer, yeah, exactly. But yeah, mouth. I think have we said everything we've.
I think we have. Yeah. I think this is a beer that certainly, among Kyoto Brewing beers, it's one of their 4 flagships, and it shows the care that they take with their regular beer, their regular line that's available all year round. Yeah,
well, this is lovely. I think for me, this is the pick of the bunch so far, but we still have one more to look at. So mouthfeel-wise for me again, mid-bodied. This is a bit smoother and it has a bit of a creamy character to it.
It's got some oats in it.
Yeah, that makes sense then. IBU-wise, this feels a bit drier again, but you can always conflate dryness and bitterness. So this is what's 50, 60. What does it say? 35. See, this is why I always say my IBU count. Take it with a pinch of salt. So this one, I would have guessed this was more bitter than the other ones, but apparently not. But yeah, a lot of dryness and roastiness.
Absolutely.
Smooth breadiness from the German malts, bit of creaminess from the oak. Lovely little bit of fruitiness. This is a lovely beer.
Quite a bit of complexity for what is a regularly brewed beer.
Yeah, for what it is, this is pretty damn impressive. Actually, I have to say that. So yeah, this is the pick of the bunch so far for me. So yeah, I think that's a nice place to round off this one. Here we go. So yeah, that is, what was the name again? The
Kurosho no Gotoku.
Kurosho no Gotoku. Belgian stout, 6% ABV, one of the 4 flagship beers from Kyoto Brewing. Now we're going to round off with something a little bit special, so the two of us will see you in just a little second. Slanja. So yeah guys, if you come to Kyoto Brewing, you can pick up some of the cans. So on the top there they have their Mari series, which Nevitt tells me is quite interesting. You can see here on the second shelf some of the flagship beers, some of the sours down there, the Vienna Lager on the right, on the next shelf down they've got their German Pilsner and a couple of IPAs, and then down on the bottom a few more things. So yeah, nice little selection of cans that you can get here at Kyoto Brewing, and very reasonably priced, I have to say as well. But yeah, little look at those for you. Alright guys, well it's time for our 5th and final beer tasting then here at Kyoto Brewing Company. So yeah, there was a beer on the menu that I thought was very, very interesting. I don't know if I've ever seen one of these on tap before. So yeah, this particular beer is called Akame, which Nevitt tells me translates into English as it's a type of red, like a dark scarlet red.
A type of red color, reddish color, yeah.
So this one is a Belgian Imperial Red Ale, 10% ABV, and it's part of their Topa series, which you were going to...
Their Topa series is one of Kyoto Brewing's many series of beers, an IPA series, a lager series, where they explore different styles of lagers around the world. Topa series is apparently one in which they are trying to explore limits, and what they mean by that is the limits of their ingenuity, the limits of their techniques, their equipment, and also their customers' tolerances. So in other words, these are beers that are like 10% ABV or over, and so they're really kind of exploding things out into the ether with this series called the Topa series.
Interesting, yeah. But as I say, I don't think I've ever tried a beer that's been called a Belgian Imperial Red. So this is, for me, this is completely new. Huge fan of the New Zealand Imperial Reds, the American Imperial Reds. It's a lovely beer style, but a Belgian one should be quite interesting, I have to say.
Mm-hmm. And Belgian, of course, is the Kyoto Brewing, kind of one of their trademarks is using the Belgian influence technique.
I'm going to steal your glass to show the colour a little bit better. I'm stealing your glass to show the colour. So you can see this beer, it has a lovely sort of mahogany, chestnutty kind of tint to it. A little bit of a kind of ivory coloured head, I would say. Nevitt's one shows the colour a little bit more. You can see the real red tinge in this one. But I think, dark stained mahogany is a nice way to describe the colour of this one. The guys downstairs gave me a very generous pour.
Very generous.
Very generous pour.
Not sure if you're going to walk away tonight, but we'll see.
I can stagger away, that's fine. But lovely looking beer, this one. I think it's... the things to mention with this one is, as we said, 10% Belgian Imperial Red, a malt base of Pilsner, Crystal, Medium and DRC. Only one hop, Simcoe, which we know very well. 12% alpha acid, roughly American. Usually in IPAs it will give you a kind of passion fruity note, but if you put it in more malty beers, it's going to give you some black currants and figs and things. Beautiful hop in a black IPA normally, actually. Will we take a wee look at the aroma of this one?
Okay, and very quickly, the yeast blend is a blend of Belgian ale and American ale, and they've also added a little bit of white sugar to it. Okay. 45.1, very specific.
It's very precise.
IBUs, International Bittering Units.
Okay,
let's look at the aroma here.
Yeah,
Cheers.
Kampai. And thank you for joining for this out and about video.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah. Ooh. You know what? Just in its general vibe, it reminds me of the stout in a way.
The stout?
It has that smoothness that it has, the
very fruity stout.
Yeah. I'm just going to say straight away, lovely smelling beer. Very woody in its backbone, very kind of, you have that lovely kind of yeasty sort of quality to it as well. For me, quite a bit of brown bready bread crust, wood, as I say. I get
a lot of fruit too, I think.
You know what it's like? It has a little bit of an almost Christmas pudding type thing. I don't know. It's a little
British Christmas.
Yeah. My dad used to love Christmas pudding. My dad was born in February. My mum always used to make him Christmas pudding for his birthday cake. He just loved it. This beer reminds me of Christmas pudding, aroma-wise.
Yeah.
So for me, quite woody in the backbone. Bit of like a caramelised rye bread crust.
I get that. Yeah, caramelised. Yeah.
There's a little bit of a drier and leathery brown sugar in there, which to me usually indicates a longer wort boil. Could be wrong though.
I would accept it. I probably think they boiled this for a bit to get that alcohol, get the ferment all, get it all boiled out.
Caramelise your sugars a wee bit more, definitely.
Yeah.
You can smell that. This beer really does have a little bit of a leathery brown sugary quality to it. Sweet caramel in there, though definitely a wee tiny bit of vanilla, bit of nuttiness, I think too.
There's a lot going on in the nose.
Yeah, but the thing is, as we had with the stout, in the sort of top and the back of the nose, you get that Belgian, clovey, yeasty type note out of it.
I think the Belgian aspect here is little bit more pronounced than in some of the other beers we've had from them.
Yeah, definitely. And whatever it is, it smells very, very nice, I have to say. A little bit of biscuit for me the more that I smell of it too. And yeah, I really do like how that goes together, definitely.
The alcohol fumes are somewhat there, but not what I would expect for 10%.
Yeah.
You're not holding this away, worried about it. It's
yeah, it goes really, really nicely, I have to say.
It does.
Not much of a hoppy presence this one, maybe a little light grassiness.
True.
So it's probably late edition dry hopping type thing that's going on in this one.
And the hop bill was not terribly high.
Only some cool.
No, 45.
45 IBU? Oh yeah, 45.1 IBU.
So kind of mid-range, but for a high alcohol, high gravity beer, not terribly much.
I think for fruity wise, just a little bit of blackcurrant, blackberry maybe. Yeah. It's got a little slightly vinous character to it as well.
Maybe some fermented plums or...
that can make sense, yeah.
You could translate it to maybe prune, but it's not pruny.
Yeah. I thought prune was a dried plum.
It is.
Oh,
Yeah. Oh, okay. You're right. Yeah.
Anyway,
shall we?
Next of all, let's get stuck into this one. Our last
Kampai.
Slange Skill. Cheers again. Thank you to Nevitt for joining for this one. Ooh. That's very nice. It's almost like it finds a middle ground between like a Flanders Red and a quadruple.
Interesting, yeah.
Sorry, I interrupted you there.
Yeah, this is not barrel aged, as far as I know.
This is one they should. If they haven't barrel aged this, they should think about it.
They should do it. You're right.
Yeah.
It would make an exceptional beer.
Stick this in a cognac barrel. That would be lovely.
Wait for a year and see what happens.
This is definitely a candidate for cognac barrel aging.
If you hear this, Kyoto Brewing, please.
Yeah.
We'll wait for it.
It would work with bourbon or rum as well. Rum or cognac barrel aging would be good for this. That's very. I'm just going to say straight away, this is very, very nice. First impression, the big sweet malty oily thing. Lovely beer. I'm kind of glad that in some ways I was kind of regretting that I got the big one, but now I'm not. Now I'm definitely not. This is going to be nice to just kind of round off.
Yeah. It doesn't attack with a big, heavy hit. Kind of composes itself and lets you analyze it, I think.
It really has like a kind of Belgian quadruple type feel to it. But at the same time, it shows you a wee bit more of a kind of like Dubel flavour profile. It's not quite as cakey and caramelised and stuff as a quadruple, and it has a wee bit of that lighter thing. It's interesting, this one for sure. But again, it shows you these guys are quite a yeast-forward brewery, and that definitely works for me. So it gets a big thumbs up. Let's try and break it
So
down.
the other beers you had so far, you detected a kind of dryish quality to them, Christmas. And this one, I think, probably
Not really,
doesn't have so much.
No.
Maybe for its style, it's a little bit less overwhelming in its sweetness than most in its style. But it's definitely not a dry beer.
Yeah. I mean, for me, this is, if you go to the middle of your palate, lovely, kind of little bit of like a wholemeal brown bready, rye bread crust. Definitely a bit of a kind of cakey rye bready layer above that. Some wholemeal brown bread in there too. But then you get this layer of like really leathery, oily, sweet brown sugar.
Christmas pudding, that's interesting. What goes into Christmas pudding, do you think?
I couldn't tell you.
Should we call your mother?
As I say, I'm Scottish. I don't know that much about cooking. We're not the most culinarily enlightened people in the world.
I've never heard that before. Culinarily enlightened.
Yeah, there we go. Well, now you have.
You see what this beer does to you? It makes you invent new expressions.
Exactly. But yeah, I mean, the brown sugary notes for me, it's not as leathery as I thought it would be from the aroma. So it's maybe not. I don't think it's been boiled overly long. maybe like 3-4 hours.
I would expect a little less than that, probably, but
yeah, it could, yeah, I think you're potentially right on that one. Yeah,
it does have white sugar, which would ferment out pretty quickly, or probably wouldn't require a hell of a long boil.
But yeah, I mean, definitely if you go to the dead centre of your palate, there's straight up sweet caramel there. As you move further out, it gradually becomes a little bit more like butterscotchy, Werther's Original like. You get a bit more biscuit toward the edge of the palate. I would say toward the front of that middle third of your tongue, there's a wee bit more nuttiness. There's definitely a wee nutty vibe to this beer.
Wow. Need a little bit more time to suss out all of those ingredients, but it is quite an exceptional, complex beer.
Oh, this is lovely. Yeah, it really is it's like a middle ground between like a if you can call it a non-sour Flanders Red and a Belgian quadruple. It's somewhere.
Oh, okay, I get what you're talking about now. Non-sour, yeah. Not astringent, not sour, but Flanders.
Yeah, it has got that. It's if you could cross like Rochefort's 10 and Rodenbach, you'd probably get this.
My goodness.
But maybe with a little bit of sourness. So yeah.
Without the sourness, without the astringency, yeah. That's an interesting point, because it is a Belgian red. It is a Belgian red, but it doesn't have the astringency or sourness that we would associate with a Belgian, a Flanders red.
Yeah, I mean, the only Belgian red I can think of that I've ever come across would potentially be there is a one from the
Rodenbach for sure.
Well, Rodenbach is a Flanders red, but the only non-sour Belgian red, I should say that. Leffe have a red, and Delirium have one as well.
The Leffe one is called.
It's just called Leffe Red, I'm sure.
Red.
Rood or whatever the French or Dutch word is for that. I forget what part of Belgium they're from, but yeah, lovely beer anyway.
It's wonderful. This is exceptional. Yeah,
on the back third of the palate, you get a little bit more of the kind of yeasty notes. So you've got the layers, the bread crust, the KK notes, the brown bread, the white bread, and then you get just the more farmhousey kind of yeasty notes. It's a bit more clovey and spicy. But yeah, the hoppy character in this one too is very smooth. Like in the back corners of the palate, there's a teeny bit of earthiness, a little bit of herbal note. As you reach the front corners of the tongue, it's a little bit more floral, and there's a wet grassiness there. But it's definitely the hoppy character is a lot smoother in this one than the other ones. And to me, that would indicate less hops have been used in this brew, definitely.
Just a single hop, Simcoe.
Yeah. Anything else we should say about the green side of the beer?
And the fruitiness and the sweetness is much stronger than any perceived bitterness, or the bitterness is blended in completely well with this one.
Yeah. I mean, the stout was very impressive, but this is
a special beer, for sure.
It really is very nice. I really do like this. Front third of the palate, then the fruity side of things. This beer, it doesn't really have like a sharpness to it. You know how you often get raisins and stuff. I don't get so much of this. This is like a more the fruity character in this one's very similar to a quadruple, but it does have a little bit of an almost candy sugar.
It could be classified as a quadruple, probably.
Yeah. It has a little bit of an almost like you can feel like that sort of candied strawberry underneath everything else, I think. You know, if you think, I don't know in America if you have those Haribo strawberry sweets.
I know Haribo.
Yeah. But there's these big strawberries you get from Haribo in Europe. I think they're just called straws, but you've got this, for me, the front third of the palate, that's the base flavour, then you've got the more oily things on top of that. But one of the tricks they always do with Belgian brewing is they add candy sugar or rock sugar or something.
They have white sugar in this, for sure.
And exactly, that's what they do with that's why Belgian beers are always lighter in mouthfeel but higher in alcohol. Because you're getting your sugar from another place, you're not getting it all from the malt. But yeah, for this one, it's like candied strawberry underneath. Then you've got a bit of plum or prune maybe. Then as you come further forward, figs, black currants, but you do have a little bit of that kind of peary, sultane type note in the aftertaste too.
My goodness, Interesting. Yeah, the mouthfeel is it's not as heavy as I would expect for a beer this alcohol, and that could be from the white sugar, certainly.
But as I say, this is lovely. I said the stout was the pick of the bunch, but I think this one has topped it. Yeah. It has topped. The stout is very impressive.
This is the fifth beer we've had.
Yeah, but in fairness, I think we made a wise choice to try this one last. And if we'd left early without trying this, we would have missed out, definitely. So
James, what is your impression of Kyoto Brewing
overall?
So far,
it's quite a yeast-forward brewery. So if I think about the wider Japanese beer scene, quite interesting in that sense. They're kind of focused on that Belgian type thing, and I can't think of many other breweries that are doing that. To be honest with you,
you're right. And that's the way they started. Certainly they've explored many other avenues, certainly, but the Belgian hybrid kind of thing is where they started.
Yeah, I mean, I would say that potentially it's just me. I mean, Scotch ales, doppelbocks, dunkels, quadruples. I've got it's a Scottish sweet tooth in a way. We are more familiar with more malty things. So the malty beers have stood out to me a little bit more than the other ones. I would say that.
Okay.
I don't know if you would have the same impression.
No, I don't think I would. I mean, I was kind of raised in beer terms with pale ales and IPAs in a different sort of sense.
So, I mean, again, this is quite interesting as well. Different people always have different points of reference, and I was used to more. I think Rauch beer was where I got into beer, so I came into the more malty side of things. You've obviously come in on the lighter side, so for me in this case, the malty things stand out a little bit more than the other ones.
Yeah.
I think that's always interesting to think about when you review beer. But this is lovely. I think we need to do the mouthfeel actually to round off. Bottom end, the full body for me.
Yeah.
It's definitely not the thickest beer you're going to come up with. It still has that Japanese cleanliness to it.
Yeah, not for its style. It does not have the heaviness that you would expect for its style.
It's almost got like a lager. It's almost got like a doppelbock kind of note to it. In the sense that it's quite clean and oily in that sense. So it's almost like it has that doppelbock type mouthfeel to it. And again, this is Japanese people like their beers to be drinkable. So I can see why they would choose this kind of profile in the beer. But overall, very oily, very thick compared to the other beers we've had, of course. Was this supposed to be 50 IBUs? This one? Yeah,
50 or 44, 49.1, I believe. Yeah, 45.1.
Okay. I mean, again, I would never have guessed that with this beer. It does have a bit of a dryness to it. A lovely, smooth and oily mouthfeel. A lot of sweetness, a little bit of dryness, as you see.
Got some legs hanging out there.
Oh yeah, I think that's from. Well, that's on the outside.
That's on the outside. I'm sorry.
Yeah, lovely, big malty, dry fruity character.
Yeah, this is an exceptional beer from them. I think
that's a lovely beer. I think I might need to get a can of this one as well
I think you should.
to take away with me. But I think this is a very nice place to end off with this one.
Yes.
Very impressed with the more malty side of things from Kyoto Brewing, but a really nice evening that we've had here, tasting all these beers.
Thank you, James.
So thank you for joining for this one, Nevitt. I'm sure we'll film a few more things
in the
future.
I think so.
Yeah, there's a few places we want to do, like Mother Tree and Kanigata, and there are other places in Osaka that you haven't visited, I haven't visited.
Right. So I haven't been out much in the last 3 years, so it's time to get out and explore a little bit.
Definitely, yeah. So you will see Nevitt on the channel again at some point. You'll see me on his channel, no doubt, as well. Thank you for joining. And as always, I will give you my final thoughts on Kyoto Brewing in just a second, so stay tuned for that. But make sure you check out Nevitt. I always mess this up. It's Japanese Beer Reviews, Japanese Craft Beer Reviews.
Japanese Craft Beer Reviews.
Japanese Craft Beer Reviews.
I even mess it up sometimes.
Originally, it was Beering in Mind.
That was the blog a long time ago.
A long time ago, but now, Japanese Craft Beer Reviews. You'll find the link to Nevitt's channel in the description below. Go give him a like. Do you have Instagram? And
I do.
You do have, so I'll put the Instagram link and the Facebook link and stuff in there as well. Right. We'll put everything down there, but give Nevitt a follow, check out his videos, and it'd be really cool. So nice to finally film something together. Yeah.
Cheers,
cool.
man.
Slange. Catch you guys in just a second. Alright guys, well that is our time over here then at Kyoto Brewing in Minami-ku in Kyoto. So we had a really nice couple of hours here. It was really cool to film with Nevitt for the first time, and we will definitely do more videos with him going forward. But yeah, the average price for each beer that we had was about between 600 and 700 yen for 200 millilitres, which is a small. So that translates to roughly about $5 American, maybe about €4.50, £4 sterling. So yeah, I think that's pretty fair actually. Nevitt was telling me that in terms of the general Japanese craft beer scene, Kyoto Brewing Company have been quite good at keeping their prices lower compared to other places. But when it comes to this brewery, I would say that generally speaking, their beers have this really nice kind of yeasty edge to them. They're very clean and light and drinkable. The malty ones kind of stood out to me, but maybe that's just because of my background with the Scotch ales, the Doppelbocks, the barley wines, all of these kind of things. But yeah, had a really good couple of hours here. It was really nice to film with Nevitt, like I said, and definitely will come back. I would need to review a few of the Kyoto Brewing Company beers on the channel going forward, but I have a few cans in my bag, so you'll see those at some point. But make sure you check out Nevitt's channel. As I said, you'll find all the links to his Instagram, Facebook and his channel in the description below. So go give him a like, go give him some love, and then we are going to head back to the train station now. So big shout out to Nevitt for joining in for this one.
Thanks, James.
Yeah, cheers. See you guys in the next Out and About video, and you will see more in Japan with Nevitt very, very soon. Cheers.